Welcome.
How are you doing?
Hi.
My name's Jonathan Green and we're here at Forbidden Planet in London for the signing of Magic Realms, The Art of Fighting Fantasy by Sir Iain Livingstone and myself.
Hello, I'm Iain Livingstone. Been in the games for nearly 50 years. Started Games Workshop in 1975 with an old school friend Steve Jackson. Then co-founded and co-created Fighting Fantasy game books in 1982. Then eventually moved into video games in the 90s and launched Lara Croft Tomb Raider. These days I'm still writing Fighting Fantasy game books because it's a passion project for me. I'm also involved with quite a lot of video game studios. I've got my own school, Livingstone Academy in Bournemouth, which uses games-based learning as part of developing the curriculum in that school. Having written quite a number of Final Fantasy game books, I'm very aware of how important the art and the artists are in contributing to the success of the series. And I was very fortunate to work with some of the best. It's high time their art and the artists themselves were celebrated, because we've been doing this for over 40 years now, and so I'm delighted the way Magic Realms has turned out. Unbound done a great job in producing a fantastic book. And it's there in stone, and I think people are going to love it for multiple reasons. And hundreds of pieces of art in there, some of which a lot of people, general public, won't have seen. So I'm hoping it's going to appeal to not just Fighting Fantasy fans, but the general public who just appreciate fantastic fantasy art.
I've written a history of Fighting Fantasy called You're the Hero before, and for that I'd interviewed some of the artists, so it was really a case of extrapolating from that, so going back to them to find out more detail about their work, researching their artistic inspirations, their different, how they develop their styles, sending out a few more questions, and obviously since I'd researched my history there were different artists who'd contributed to the series, some who I'd not been able to get hold of yet, some who are new, so I was able to interview them as well.
It was such a pleasure to work with such gifted people. I mean, they could take an idea and turn it into an image that was not just compelling in itself, but kind of drew you into the story and played a major part in creating the world of Atlantia, in which all our books are set, and setting the canon and the style and the detail and the stuff that really fires up young people's imagination in particular, and continue to do so 40 years later. So many of those people who read them in the 80s are still reading them today. So as a writer, now I've just written a new one called The Dungeon of Blood Island. Am I writing it for 10-year-olds or 45-year-olds masquerading as 10-year-olds?
You've got all kind of artists who, very well known people like Chris Achilléos, who's, as well as Fighting Fantasy work and stuff he did for Games Workshop, his book like Amazons, and he did Target covers for Doctor Who. And then there's people like Les Edwards, who's done so many covers for so many books, including lots of horror books, but he contributed many covers to Fighting Fantasy. People like Martin McKenna, and of course Iain McCaig, who's a legend. He did City of Thieves, Death Up Dungeon, the cover for Island of the Lizard King, but he's now known as the designer of Darth Maul and Queen Amidala for Star Wars. He's worked on Avengers Endgame, the Jungle Book live action version, and he started out drawing a plastic bag for Games Workshop and producing art for Fighting Fantasy game books.
I gave some artists more free rein than others. I mean, if you're talking to Iain McCaig, you're not going to criticise him very much because he just gets it and does it, and it's just wow. And I've also worked with some amazing artists like Chris Achilléos, Karl Kopinski, John Blanche. I mean, the list in Magic Realms just goes on and on and on. It's just superb list of fantastic artists. But the creative process itself was a lot of back and to, so I'd give the paragraph description and I'd try and find some visual reference to help influence their own ideas, but tried to give them as much free rein, because the thing about it has to be kind of dynamic in their poses, not just setting a scene. The And I think Iain McCaig is the master of creating a dynamic pose. I mean, his cover for Forest of Doom, where this little goblin is metamorphosing into this horrendous spike creature that's going to rip your head off. You just feel that you're actually there when you look at the cover. It kind of draws you in, and the creature's looking at you, and there's this kind of moment that I am there.
It was the art as much as the writing, which as a child inspired me to read the books. It was the whole package and that experience. So, yeah, I mean, amazing memories. And also I was really lucky in that I got to see some sketches which I'd not seen before, and work on characters that maybe didn't make it into final covers. And for example, we talked about Iain McCaig, but he's amazing. He's an award-winning character designer now, and seeing the way he developed different characters for book covers is fantastic.
I'll never stop writing fighting fantasy books, even though I convinced myself at the end of the last one that I'm never going to write another one again in my life. And that brings a very momentary squeal of delight from my wife, who says yes. And then about 2 weeks later, a little thing starts bugging in my ear with an idea. So I think it's going to be a lifelong thing. It's great to be here at Forbidden Planet. Thank you for having us, and it's also great to meet all the people who came out to see us today, and we hope they're very happy with their copies of Magic Realms, Dice Men, and the Dungeon on Blood Island. Let's get it right.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.